Welcome back, everyone. So, it's been a little while since I've done a lore video. I'm going to continue on with my series on Innistrad. But before we get into today's video, just gotta let you guys all know, if you like my videos, please smash that like button down below. If you want to see more of my content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Helps out the channel a lot. And if you always want to be notified for new videos, ring that bell icon down below. I promise it doesn't bite. Maybe just a little bit. Getting right into today's video. It's going to be probably a longer video because we're discussing one of the most influential characters on Innistrad. That is Sorin Markov. So, everyone knows Sorin Markov as the Lord of Innistrad, the main planeswalker who calls Innistrad home. He is one of the oldest planeswalkers that are around today within existence. He is a premending planeswalker. So, he is thousands of years old. And he's attributed his eternal youth due to being a vampire. Now, how did Sorin become a planeswalker? So, when Sorin was growing up, he lived in the Markov Manor with his grandfather, Edgar Markov. Now, everyone knows Edgar Markov as the progenitor of the Markov bloodline for vampires on Innistrad. But how did he become a vampire? Because he always wasn't one. Well, Edgar Markov became a vampire when famine struck their land. And with everyone dying off, Edgar wanted to protect his family and his bloodline, and he was doing so through magic and through alchemy. Couldn't figure it out until one day a demon teaches him sangromancy, which is blood magic. Now, that turned Edgar into the first vampire. Using this blood magic, he, turned other people in the manor and in his bloodline into vampires, eventually turning his grandson, Sorin. Now, the experience of being turned into a vampire is what actually triggered Sorin's planeswalker spark. So when his spark ignited was because of that transformation. So went hand in hand together. Being a vampire and being a planeswalker were the same things to him. Now, as for storylines, Sorin is a very interesting character because of his age and how he is as a character. He is very noble, being raised in a noble household, being of a noble bloodline. He always seems like he's got something going on. He's always a part of something throughout the entirety of the multiverse in Magic. Because as a person who is thousands of years old, he goes from planes to plane to plane, just experiencing things and living a heathenistic lifestyle. And eventually, he always still returns home, because he cares about his home. So, what is the biggest thing he's known for? Well, that is the creation of Avacyn, the Archangel of Hope. Now, he creates Avacyn because through hundreds of years, thousands of years, he started noticing the vampire population was outgrowing the human population because they were feeding each other, feeding on these humans so frantically and ferociously. So Sorin thought he needed to do something to protect not only humanity on the plane of Innistrad, as well as protect, his own people from becoming cannibals. Because that's what it was leading to. It was leading to them starting to eat each other if they didn't have enough food supply of humans. So he created Avacyn, out of basically moon magic in a weird way. The moon was a big catalyst of him creating Avacyn, which is why she's linked to it as well. I might be misreading that. Double check my facts there. But anyways, we're going to continue. So with the introduction of Avacyn into Innistrad, Sorin was thought of as this kind of hero among the people, because here was a vampire who created their greatest hope, who created the way to fight back against these vampires. Now, some vampires looked at what he did and thought, okay, that makes sense. He doesn't want us all to die. Other vampires branded him a traitor. You have the Falcon Wrath bloodline, didn't like Sorin because of what he did. Now, he creates, Avacyn to look over and protect the humanity that is on Innistrad. And in doing so, and Avacyn's being there, you have faith magic becoming a real thing. You have the Church of Avacyn being built around her. So he is the start of that. He's the reason why the Church of Avacyn became so powerful, because he had this great protector for humanity. Now, in his travels, throughout his travels in the multiverse and the different planes he sees, he comes upon this unknown plane, it's not specified which, where he sees the destruction caused by the Eldrazi, Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek, who he finds out are these beings of, the basically beings coming from the Blind Eternities, which is the realm between the planes, the blank canvas, if you would. Now, he recognizes the threat immediately of these beings that are just voracious eaters. In his mind, that's how he sees them. They're voracious eaters. They want to eat all the mana that they can get their hands on. So, what does he do? Well, he meets another planeswalker, Ugin, the spirit dragon, who is this ancient premending walker as well as him. And they find a mana-rich plane that they believe they can lure the Eldrazi to. And what plane do they find? That is Zendikar. Now, on Zendikar, Sorin and Ugin meet a very young Lithiomancer named Nahiri. Now, Nahiri is, a new planeswalker just coming into her own, and meets these two ancient beings who know these incredible magic, and starts to learn from them. Sorin becomes kind of a mentor to Nahiri as well as a friend, and through their time together, Nahiri teaches him a little bit of lithomancy as she's creating the Hedrons, which are the beacons that draw the Eldrazi to Zendikar. So, that's exactly what happens. They built these Hedrons that are all over Zendikar as these basically homing beacons for these monsters of the Blind Eternities. When they finally arrive, they get sealed within the plane. When they do that, the three of them made a pact. That pact was, if anything was to happen with the seal, that Sorin, Ugin, and Nahiri would all be together and reseal it. Make sure they're stayed in their cages. So, for basically to make sure that this seal is never broken, Nahiri encases herself in stone to become the guard of the Eye of Ugin. And then Ugin and, Sorin go on their way across the multiverse and travel and do their thing, go to planes. Now, sticking with Sorin, at this time, Sorin goes back to Innistrad. He's trying to figure out another way outside of Avacyn to protect his plane. So he builds the Hell Vault. He creates this Hell Vault. Avacyn uses it to, they enter demons in there and all sorts of other beings that are threats to the plane of Innistrad. Fast forward. So, that's the first major story point we see Sorin, is him meeting Ugin and Nahiri and creating the Eye of Ugin and sealing the Eldrazi. Now we're going to fast forward a bit to kind of the next big event for him. So while Sorin was away on another plane, traveling and doing his thing, the demon Grizzlebrand and Avacyn are fighting. Well, during the fight, Avacyn gets pulled into... sorry. I'm going to backtrack here. I'm skipping a major beat. So, fast forward from the Eldrazi's imprisonment. A couple young planeswalkers. We have Sarkhan, Jace, and Chandra basically are kind of tricked into tampering with the Eye of Ugin. And when the Eye of Ugin starts slowly leaking out the Eldrazi, which we see the Scions coming in at that point. Nahiri is woken up from her slumber and stone. So Nahiri goes to find, or sends out the signal to Ugin and Sorin, but gets no response. Now, Nahiri has heard Sorin talk about Innistrad before, so she decides to travel to Innistrad. She travels to Innistrad to find Sorin and basically say, hey, I called for you. I need you to come and we need to fix this. Well, Sorin, being kind of how he is, he's lived for thousands of years. He's got other things going on in his mind. He believes that they don't need him. Just go get Ugin. Well, this angers Nahiri. So Nahiri tries to actually strike Sorin. But his creation, Avacyn, actually protects him and actually stops Nahiri from attacking him and puts Nahiri into the Hell Vault. Now, with this happening, now you're having one of the main people who sealed them originally gone. So Sorin, hearing what is going on Zendikar, decides, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. So Sorin goes back to Zendikar. At this point, they're trying to stop the Eye of Ugin from actually shattering. And while he's in, Zendikar, Sorin meets another young planeswalker of Zendikar. That is Nissa Ravain. Now, their story is really long, really weird. It's basically just like a weird adventure story where it's, Sorin and Nahiri are joined by a group of goblins and this other core that is speaks an ancient language, and they go through this weird journey through Zendikar until they finally reach the Eye of Ugin. And that's where the things really kind of happen, is in the Eye of Ugin. Sorin was asking Nissa to help him, basically keep it from breaking. Well, Nissa doesn't listen to him, and instead she believes that if she breaks the Eye of Ugin and releases the Eldrazi, they're going to just leave Zendikar be. Sorin knew better, because Zendikar is a plane rich of mana. They were going to stay and feast. And that's what they did. So Sorin's like, wiping my hands clean. I'm out. I did my job. You guys messed it up. Going back home. And that's what he did. Now we're going to get back to what happened when he went back home. So when Sorin returned from Zendikar for the second time, Avacyn was missing. Now, Avacyn at this point had been sucked into the Hell Vault by Griselbrand during their fight. And so Sorin kind of goes on this adventure, sort of, where he's searching the plane for Avacyn. No one knows where she is. He doesn't even know that Avacyn is in the Hell Vault. So, he's searching through the plane, trying to find his angel. Eventually, he stumbles upon another planeswalker, lo and behold, and that planeswalker is Tibalt. So he recognizes Tibalt as more of a threat to Innistrad, then basically says, okay, I'm going to put finding Avacyn on the back burner. I'm going to take care of you first. So that's what he does. Him and Tibalt have this kind of scuffle, this fight. You find out that they have known each other in the past. Tibalt is not a huge fan of Sorin because Sorin's master always talked very highly of Sorin, and basically Tibalt was always second rate. So Tibalt is trying to fight with Sorin. Does not work. Sorin beats him soundly. Tibalt planeswalks out of there. He's quickest fight ever. But by the time that all finishes, Avacyn has been released from the Hell Vault. So Sorin, looking around, seeing Avacyn back, thinks, okay, my work here is done. I'm going to go find Ugin now. This is where the next time we see Sorin is Sorin goes to, the plane Tarkir, where he knows Ugin that's his new home. This is where he is normally out. So when Sorin goes originally to find Ugin, he doesn't find Ugin. He goes to Ugin's home and finds his body dead and decayed. Unbeknownst to, Sorin, thousands of years before, Ugin was actually killed by his twin brother Nicol Bolas. This is where things get twisted, because, as a lot of us know, in the Khans of Tarkir block, we had the Fate Reforged set, which led to Dragons of Tarkir. So there was this timeline shift within just Tarkir. It only affected Tarkir, where instead of Ugin dying on that fateful day, Sarkhan Vol basically traveled back in time and stored Ugin's body within a Hedron cocoon that he kept a Hedron on him from his time in Zendikar. So he stores Ugin into the Hedron, and now you go back to when Sorin is there. Suddenly, time gets rewritten, and now Sorin is staring at Ugin in a cocoon, regaining his power and his strength. So basically Sorin goes, okay, Ugin's out of commission, Nahiri's out of commission, I'm wiping my hands clean of this whole Eldrazi thing, and I'm just going back to Zendikar, or back to Innistrad, and I'm going to protect my people. That's exactly what he does. He returns back to Innistrad. Now here's where things get interesting, because now here's where we have the story of Nahiri, as well as, you know, Emrakul, the Promised End. So Sorin returns to Innistrad. Something is not right here. Something is going on with his home. He can't put a finger on it. He's noticing, you know, these strange signs. He goes back to his ancestral home of Markov Manor to find it in ruins, and his entire bloodline encased in this stone around him. And that is when he's confronted by Nahiri. Nahiri is doing something on his plane, and it is warping the minds of things. So he first finds out that Avacyn, his, you know, angel of hope, has become corrupted and turned into this vengeful monster that he has to put out of her misery. After a long struggle with her, trying to keep her, change her back to where she was too far gone. So he had to put her out of her misery, where we get Anguish and Making. Then we get into this final battle between Nahiri and Sorin in Markov Manor, where all this legion of vampires against this legion of crazed humans attacking and everything. And eventually Nahiri gets the upper hand. She encases Sorin into the stone of his own home and basically says, you will watch as your plane is destroyed as Emrakul, the Promised End, comes to the plane. Now, we all know what happens with Emrakul, the Promised End during the original Innistrad block. She gets imprisoned in the moon, and something's going on now. Fast forward to War of the Spark. We see Sorin there. So he got out of the stone somehow. Whether that was clawed his way out or pried his way out, he got out of the stone somehow. And during the War of the Spark, first thing he does, he finds out Nahiri's on that plane. He goes straight after her and goes for a one-on-one bout, and the two just start going at it. Well, while they're going at it in the fight, Ugin, who is also on Ravnica for the War of the Spark, says, stop. We need to all work together. We need to stop my brother. That's what we got for them. They stayed on the plane after the War of the Spark to kind of help with the situation. A lot of people are assuming that they kind of basically fought and settled their differences and went their separate ways. Fast forward to Midnight Hunt. Now, Sorin is in a very different mindset than what he was when we originally saw him in, you know, Shadows over Innistrad and Zendikar, where he was this strong, confident vampire, millennia old. He's now a broken man because everything he's done for Innistrad to protect the plane has backfired on him. His Hellvolt basically imprisoned his one piece of hope, and it imprisoned someone who went crazy for vengeance against him, who changed the plane and warped the plane to bring this Eldrazi monster to his world to gain his vengeance. So he's had to endure hardships of his entire bloodline, you know, vanishing, basically, because they're all dying in stone, as well as the the creation he made to protect the people turning on the people, and then him having to destroy it. So you fast forward to Midnight Sun, where we see him sulking and in his throne room in his destroyed manner, with the one artifact that the group need, the people there need to try to set things right, which is the Moon Silver Key. I'm not gonna get into all that because that story's not fully out yet, but I know today was a long video. I appreciate everyone who stood through this and watched this video all the way through. Let me know down in the comment section below if there are any other planeswalkers or creatures from Innistrad or characters from Innistrad or any other set that you guys would like to see me cover in one of my lore series. As always, guys, play more games.